This is Steve Downs, the voice of Master Chief, Spartan 117. Welcome to Quality Time, the KO Koala Entertainment Podcast. Anthony and Skylar will take it from here. Master Chief, out.
Welcome to Quality Time, the KO Koala Entertainment Podcast. My name is Anthony Nicolosi.
I'm Skylar Sokol.
And today we are talking about my my impressions of the Halo Infinite campaign, the first new FPS Halo campaign in over 6 years. Holy schmoly.
Yep.
Long time.
That is a long time. In those 6 years, Anthony has had 4 children.
Yep. I didn't have any in that.
Yep.
At Halo 5.
That's correct.
Yes, we went from 0 kids, Master Chief Smiths, to 4.
Did the kids hang out while you played the campaign?
So the campaign has it's semi-open world. So there were Brittany wanted to watch the campaign with me, but she was not necessarily forced to be there the entire time because I was doing a lot of whatever side quests or leveling up Chief kinds of activities, in the middle. So we were able to coordinate either keeping them entertained, during we were able to keep them well entertained and or napping during the story parts. So
now, to me, I think one of the most interesting things about this Halo campaign are the open world aspects, especially for you, because you are not an open world gamer generally. I feel like open world is a bad look for an Anthony to feel motivated to play a game. Granted, I assume Halo overtakes that and you don't give a shit, but curious, how did the open world feel? Did you like it more than previous Halo more linear experiences? What are your overall opinions on it? And maybe give us a little overview of how it works in your mind too, just for me and the audience.
Yeah, and then even a step before that, for the people who don't know, Halo's my favorite gaming franchise. So this whole conversation, you kind of keep that in mind. I'm really into the lore. I'm up to speed on all the books. I either have read or know what happens in all of the books released so far, including the ones that just recently released. Anyway, so I'm
it'll be interesting to think about if this was just a game with no story that you were familiar with and you were learning the story for the first time, if you would have the same feelings.
Yeah,
we'll get to that later.
I'll touch on that. So getting into it's a semi-open world. It's not like open world Assassin's Creed kind of open world. And in fact, I stumbled upon a tweet from IGN yesterday where they said 2/3 of the initial Halo Infinite open world scope was cut actually in 2019. Wow. So they were going for something that was kind of more Breath of the Wild, but leading up. This was the IGN tweet, okay? Going up to, they had a Halo Infinite first or whatever IGN first thing, so I'm guessing that's where they got this information from. Some people have speculated about it, but coming from IGN, having done the IGN first, sounds like it's legit. They, in order to contain and focus the vision for the game, they cut scope on the open world significantly. Okay. Used to be something more like Breath of the Wild size. Now I would say I don't have enough experience, to your point, on open worlds to really compare it to something.
How long does it take you to get from one side of the map to the other? Or that doesn't even really exist, right? There's not just an open map you can run on all the way across, right? There are areas that you get closed off from and stuff, right?
So the way the campaign works is you start the first mission, you play the more or less the structure of the campaign is there are story missions that, while they take place on the ring, are either closing off segments of the map, as you're saying, because the bridges to a different broken ring island are not connected, or because the narrative's pushing you towards a direction, or you're literally in a forerunner structure or a bandage structure or whatever that's kind of keeping you in a more linear sort of progression. You have a mixture of those moments and then the open world. So you got kind of And there's actually a point, I would say like 2/3 of the way in through the story-ish, where you're just like all story. You never return to the open world until you finish the story.
Really? Okay. So and does the game warn you of that before you go into that part?
No, you don't have a heads up on like you're never coming out here again. Kind of. I mean, you come back out to the ring, but you don't have free roam to explore everywhere. If that makes sense.
Even after you beat the whole full story.
No, after you beat the whole thing, you can go wherever.
Oh, okay.
But there's like there's really like I would say there's technically four islands, if you will.
Uh-huh.
You beat the first mission and you're on the first island. It's connected to the second island underneath it, and you can play stuff along those. So there's talking about the open world aspects that we'll maybe get into from a gameplay perspective. There's these forward operating base, like capture a base, rescue Marines, take on a banished fort kinds of events scattered throughout the map. Those are spreading across those two islands at first. You can do those at your leisure and then initiate like the next narrative beat by going to the location where it's specifying like here's the next story thing, and you play that and whatever.
So this sounds like very basic open. This sounds like sort of like a baby's first open world sort of idea. It's not very innovative. There's no like open world innovation happening here. It's very, very straightforward. No. You're either going to the story location or you're doing arbitrary side quests. How did you feel about arbitrary side quests? In a lot of open world games, they get pretty repetitive. I know that Far Cry has very similar side quest missions where you take over bases over and over and over and over again. And I know a lot of people think those got really old after a while. What about Halo? How does Halo do that?
Yeah, let me get to it in a sec. I just wanted to compare it for people who have reference to it. It reminded me a lot of how Destiny 2's structure was. So Destiny 2 is not really open world. It's like semi-open world, and it's a similar thing. Like if you wanted to progress through the story, you had to go to the planet where the story mission was on. Otherwise, there was like public events you ran. Halo Infinite gave me a very similar vibe, basically.
Yeah, I would hesitate. It's hard for me to even call that open world in today's world of games.
That's why 343 have been saying like it's not an open world. It's like they call it semi-open world because it's not like you can't compare it to an Assassin's Creed,
right, or Cyberpunk.
Correct. Like there's no comparison. It's not that. It's a semi-open world. Okay. So anyway, getting back to the
side quests. Yeah, that's what I'm curious about, because that to me is like make or break of an open world game. Now, granted, this is a semi-open world game. Like what I'm interested in, what is the gameplay like in those? Does it really feel varied enough to encourage you to do them more, or are you just doing them because you feel like you have to? And also, do they provide you like additional narrative information or additional like stuff you wouldn't be able to come across if you didn't do them?
Yeah, so the types of events that you can run, there's these what are called forward operating bases, FOBs, on the map, which are basically previously human strongholds. The Banished take over, and the gameplay design is more or less Banished are taking over the base, you kill them all, and you own the base, and from that base you can spawn vehicles, you can spawn weapons, and as you accumulate more FOBs, you level up the shit you can spawn there, if that makes sense. And at the same time, each one of them comes with what's I would call the primary, like, auxiliary lore delivery mechanism, which are the audio logs. Okay. So every FOB has an audio log. In addition, we'll get to audio logs in a sec. So there's FOBs, and that's their sort of encounter design. The FOBs all are the actual base all are the same. The bases are all the same, but where the bases are different. So the way you approach them is not always necessarily like one's like in the fucking open, and you have to deal with that differently than the one that's like at the fucking.
But they always like their architecture is always the same.
Yeah, all of those FOBs are the same.
Huh.
Okay. Now then, there's smaller. So I would say that's like the medium-sized event, if you will. The smaller event is the Marine squads that are like in trouble around the ring, and those are like there's a group of Marines, they're tied up, and you got to save them and kill off the Banished. Okay. Usually at those, there's either an audio log, or sometimes in the immediate periphery, similar to Breath of the Wild. Sorry, the one thing also, this relates to the fobs. When you accomplish these events, it opens up more of the map, or at least shows you more of like the secrets. So like there's Spartan cores. So okay, I'm trying like not to explain
Yeah,
all of
you
the
don't
game.
need to. It opens up some secrets. That's all you need to say.
It opens up secrets that affect your actual like abilities as chief that you can do, and how you can upgrade
so
them.
it basically just helps you level up, potentially gives you a little bit of lore. That's what it sounds like these side quest rewards are.
Yeah, and some cosmetics for multiplayer kind of stuff.
So did you
those
think
are
they were fun? What was your opinion on them? Did you think they were, like, by the end, did you think they were fun, I guess? Would you go back and do them again now that you've beaten the story?
I'm still doing them all, right?
Okay.
Like and the two main, it's hard for like I'll try and answer it from two angles. My personal angle, I'm loving it.
I'm only really curious about your personal angle, honestly.
Okay, so from my personal angle, I'm loving it. One of the main reasons why is because the accomplishing of them highlights secrets around.
Okay.
And the secrets around are things I'm, compelled to find, either Spartan cores to finish upgrading Chief, or the cosmetics for multiplayer, or the audio logs. Like, I really want to find all the audio logs to get all the lore. In addition, in the process of this, you like accidentally stumble upon some sick caves that tie into audio logs. Some like there's like Forerunner relics and shit that like ties into lore stuff. So like the way I've been using, especially the FOB and the rescue marine missions events, are like, they are the ones that are giving me excuses to look at that part of the ring right now. And as I'm doing them, I'm also doing this other shit, right?
So
like exploring and stuff like that.
It really sounds like if you were not invested in the narrative, you would not really care about doing these things. But your investment in the narrative really motivates you to, like, do you think just doing them is fun? Is the gameplay element of it fun? I'm just curious. What's the gameplay element of it like? And maybe we can use this to transition to what the gameplay of the campaign is like and how it feels different from multiplayer if it does.
Yeah. So the reason why I think it is fun, it is compelling, is because the gameplay in the campaign takes some of like the funnest ideas of the multiplayer and sort of just cranks it up to 10, right?
Okay.
So you have like in multiplayer, you have the grapple shot, you have the thruster, you have the drop wall, and you have the threat sensor. These are all things in multiplayer. In campaign, as Chief, you have them all the time. Okay. You can switch between them and use them, and you can level them up. So like, for example, the totally leveled up grapple hook, when you shoot it, first of all, it's infinite ammo. When you shoot it at somebody, it stuns them like a shock rifle, like whatever. And you can do this thing where like you hold melee and you do this like Thor punch into the ground that like shocks people and shit. For example.
That's sick. What about the upgraded repulsor? Does it feel like not stupid?
So repulsor's actually
not repulsor. Sorry. I mean the thrust.
So the thrust is sick. Not only does it shoot you far, you also get a camo ability that happens for like a few seconds.
Interesting.
And you can use 2 thrusts at the fully upgraded version.
Okay.
So like at the end of the gameplay, once I like the way I leveled up is I leveled up my grapple hook all the way first, thrust all the way second, threat sensor all the way third. Then you can upgrade your shields, and then I just started drop wall because who gives a fuck? Like,
now you said there's no repulsor.
No repulsor.
Arguably the most fun armor ability to use in multiplayer.
I don't know why not.
It's not there at all. You can't find it. You can't use it at all.
I haven't seen it, and I have not seen anybody say that it's there. So
that's a really strange choice in my mind.
I for a moment thought like, is there maybe like, did it cause some design headache in some way or something? I don't know. I really don't know.
Or maybe they like finished the campaign before they added the repulsor to multiplayer. Like
true. Who knows? Maybe, dude. Or the other thing is that from an interface perspective, so especially like at the end of the game where I'm fucking fighting bosses and shit and whatever, I am like because with this grapple, you can do the thing like you grapple, and as you land, you fucking slide and jump, so you're fucking like going all over the place, and then you immediately toggle the thrust, and you fucking thrust, and you hide and shit.
Yeah.
It's like getting crazy.
It sounds like Doom level of doing lots of simultaneous things once you have everything upgraded.
You know, like I was definitely using all that shit.
Yeah.
You're like threat censoring. The leveled up threat sensor highlights even camo people, and it shows their health. It's super important. Like when you're fighting the elite guys go fucking invisible, and you cannot fucking see them. Like anyway, so you're using all this shit at the same time, and blah blah blah. I do wonder if there was just they had to choose. Do you put the drop wall in campaign, or do you put the repulsor?
And they
you know
fucked
what
up
I mean?
is
I don't know.
what we're saying.
Although I haven't played in Legendary, I'm gonna try it in Legendary. But some people have been saying the drop wall is a big deal in Legendary.
I could see having portable cover being a big deal in Legendary for sure.
And you can level it up, so maybe the leveled up wall is actually
sick. Yeah.
The threat sensor, like I said, I don't really use it in multiplayer, but it fucking is such a huge deal in the campaign.
Right, I could see that for sure. Okay, so
those, to get back to your events, those events are fun to fight because it's so fucking fun, dude. Like there's no fall damage. You can be on a fucking cliff and you just jump off when the fob is down there. As you land, you slide, you fucking grapple, and you slide and you thrust in, and you're going like fucking 400 miles per hour into this base. And there's a brute chieftain with his fucking gravity hammer, and it's just like chaos, you know. Like the AI, I guess, is what I would say.
Yeah, I'm interested in the AI. How did that feel?
Was when they are all together. I would just generally say the AI was like a ton of fun to fight against. In isolation, some of them are pretty weak, but when they work like in tandem, you got your chieftain with your elites or whatever like that. It's not only is it the most fun when you've got like the whole squad there and you're not like just picking off grunts or whatever, but they complement each other real good. I mean, that's usually in general, I would say the strength of Halo's AI is the complementary aspect of multiple types at the same time. Right. So
yeah, nice.
That it remains true. And they're fucking funny. Like
I did see the video of the grunt singing the Halo theme and saying he hated it. That was funny.
There's a grunt line. One of the funniest ones that I heard was like, he's like, "Hey, let's lure the human out. Let's use that good human bait, snacks or money." Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
And then like what the brutes will throw the grunts sometimes. Right. So like the grunts. Oh, that's a funny one too. The grunts like turn on the suicide grunts turn on the plasma grenades, you know, and they run at you. And one of the lines is like they turn off and they run like, "Oh fuck, I didn't mean to turn it on," like whatever, and they're running. And then the brute will fucking throw them, and then like you hear them say like, "No, and then they throw them, and you're like, "Ah," whatever. So it's like that was done real well. I enjoyed that for sure.
That's awesome. So transitioning from some of these voice acting lines, I'm curious what you thought overall of like the narrative in the universe, and let's get into no non-spoiler narrative opinion first. Maybe just talk about how you feel about it, and then we'll do a quick spoilery one.
Okay, cool. And I actually forgot one event that we'll circle back to. Okay, one event type, which is actually the biggest and funnest in my opinion.
Well, then why don't you just go over that real quick?
That one real quick. They're forts. So Banished have forts around the ring. Some of these actually do tie in narratively, and they have like audio logs or whatever. But these are not the same.
Okay, so those are more interesting.
Yeah, and those are bigger, like significantly bigger than fobs, and they've got more shit going on. They're more difficult. Those are fun, and in fact, like some of the forts that I have immediately next to deal with, I didn't tackle because I was going to do them on stream just to like show.
Oh, nice. Well, that'll be great. Okay, so anyway,
there's a kind of scaling there: forts, fobs, and marines.
Tell me about the narrative.
I love the narrative. So again,
it's redemption.
It is. Not only is it redemption, I gotta say, okay, like this is how I would explain how we're coming into it. How I'm coming into this. Halo 4 was an awesome narrative. It was very emotionally driven. It mostly centered around Cortana fucking goes crazy. She's in the process of like mentally deteriorating throughout the game. And then finally at the end, because there's a fucking crazy Forerunner, Chief can't save her and she dies saving Chief, right? Very like lots of emotional tie-ins in that story, blah, blah, blah. Halo 5 comes along and brings Cortana back. Like, first of all, what the fuck? And then she's like,
Hey,
this
no
evil,
spoilers.
like, in five,
Oh,
okay?
okay. We can
So,
spoil previous Halo
yeah, we
games.
can spoil 5. And then, so coming into this, without saying any spoilers, what I would say is I felt so extremely satisfied with how they closed out the arc they started in 4
Okay.
with the Chief and Cortana stuff, while at the same time very satisfied that it was not done at the expense of like Halo 5 story. Like they didn't ignore Halo 5, but they looped it in a satisfying way to be able to like close that out. You know what I mean? So I felt really good about that. And the second thing, which anyway, the second big overarching aspect is they set up a fuck ton of stuff. Like there's a lot of places the Halo story can go. In game and for sure in the extended lore because of some of the stuff they set up.
That's awesome. So for people who want to not get spoiled now, leave. Anthony's going to talk a little bit about spoilers in the campaign and in the narrative, and then we'll get into some overall impressions before we close it out. So give me your quick spoiler overview, your favorite spoilery parts of the narrative, why you thought it was so good.
Yeah, first of all, the intro was fantastic. The prior to coming into this game, Halo fans, unless you read the recent book that came out, would not know that the leader of the Banished, who's this big fucking huge brute called Atriox, who previously in Halo Wars 2 kicked 3 Spartans. There was 3 Spartans like Master Chief. They're Spartan 2s, like the most elite, whatever the fuck. A team of them took on Atriox, and all 3 of them got their ass kicked, right?
I'm sure you'll probably release a thorough lore overview sometime about all this.
Yeah, all I want to say is that the intro, first of all, the Atriox was even there was a surprise, and he fucking kicks Chief's ass, dude. Like whoops Chief's ass, and Chief doesn't get his ass kicked like ever, but he beats his ass, and he leaves it with you're like, the way the intro starts is Atriox is holding him off the ship, like the human like capital ship or whatever, and he's like, I'm the last face you'll ever see. Fuck you, man. Like he doesn't say fuck you, man, but he throws Chief off, right? The intro, that was like sick as fuck. And the subsequent intro where the pilot saves you and you take over the Banished ship and you like fucking blow it up. Awesome. Like it was a great, what I would say from a gameplay perspective, there were several times in that first mission where I was like, can I do that? And I could. And I was like, oh, sweet. Like
cool.
There's hanging shit that you're like the Banished whatever ship that was about to get deployed, you're like, I'm not supposed to jump there, am I? And you like do this crazy jump, you're like, fuck, I was supposed to jump here, like whatever. So that was, the intro was sick. They set up this thing where there's basically a new species in Halo. Like, there's no evidence, they have not been introduced in any way in the extended lore before. And apparently, okay, for the sake of this conversation, I'll sum it up. More or less the story of the Halo universe, humans and Forerunners and all alien species were created by this common precursor species. Okay. They made everybody. Okay. Right. Fucking long story short, Forerunners who were chosen to be like what's called the people who were responsible for caretaking life in the universe, rebel against the precursors, kill almost all of them, devolve humanity to cavemen, fucking whatever, and create the Halo rings. And the reason they create the Halo rings is to stop this parasite called the Flood that kills everything, right?
Right.
And in the story, Forerunners activate the Flood, kill everything, and they leave, like, if you will, like seeds of populations across the galaxy so that life can little by little return to normal. And me and you are, for example, living in that post-Halo firing timeline, right? And that's like what Master Chief is in and everything.
Right.
So there's a species introduced in this that apparently was not killed by the Halos, okay? Which in itself is weird. That would imply they have like no nervous system, whatever the fuck. But anyway, they were, apparently, we find out the Forerunners basically imprisoned them. So when they found out the Halos can't kill them, they tricked them, they imprisoned them, and they put them somewhere on this particular ring that you're on. Okay. And so the game one thing that like I gotta think is part of the cut is the game ends right as you're killing one of these new species, like I don't know, caretakers, if you will, who wants to release them, and you stop her, and it's like, oh fuck. Everyone is now aware of like the endless, these new species, like the endless, they got this problem, blah blah blah. And
so is this like there's gonna be some DLC kind of thing, or do you think this is set up for Halo whatever?
Oh, and here's the other thing. Well, on the DLC note, is because the way the legendary ending ends, you finish the game by beating this caretaker harbinger lady, like I was telling you, and you're like, okay, we heard about the endless. Apparently they're bad, but they're still locked. But right before she dies, she's like talking to somebody and said like, sorry, it takes so long. You have all you need. And then the legendary ending cuts to Atriox, who was supposedly dead, by the way. The whole game, he was dead. He has like the key and he's unlocking them, kind of a thing. So
big cliffhanger for more content.
Yeah, it's a
big cliffhanger for them to release a wave defense game where you fight against the endless, right?
I hope not, man. I hope I find it. My gut feeling is that the endless have some time travel ability. So for what it's worth, I'll be if there is if time traveling is about to be introduced to the Halo universe. It's not so far. Hope it goes good.
Yes, time travel is a risky narrative device.
It's a risky narrative device. So, but that's my gut feeling. They haven't technically said it yet, but that's what I suspect.
Interesting. So we're waiting to see.
And there was some sick, the legendary ending. There's a narration of a Forerunner talking to his Ancilla, which is like the Forerunner AI.
So you've watched all these endings. You have not beaten it on Legendary yet, right?
No, I didn't beat it on Legendary. I beat it on Heroic. I do want to beat it on Legendary. Anyway, the Forerunner is talking. I think he's a judicial. Anyway, the certain high rate of the Forerunners, and he's talking to his Ancilla. Not only do they have awesome voices, but they're like talking about how the Ancilla's like they're in the conversation. It's clear like a flashback, and they're approaching these endless species, and they're tricking them. They're basically saying, "Oh, they think we're here to help them. We're going to trap them, imprison them, put them down here, and like don't erase it from the archives. They don't exist because they're more dangerous than the Flood, apparently." Okay, and he at the very end says that in order to imprison them, they have to deploy offensive bias, who is, for the fucking Halo fans, he's like the most elite of Forerunner AIs from back in the day. If like without him, they wouldn't have stopped the Flood. So there's some hints throughout the campaign where Chief's new Cortana, the weapon, is like, something's helping me. I don't know what. It's really old, blah, blah, blah.
So you think it's this Forerunner AI?
I think Halo's like about to go like
ballistic.
Just, yeah. And I was thinking about it. I mean, well, if you want to take Halo forward gameplay-wise in 10 years, you kind of need maybe some narrative devices to justify some crazy gameplay shit, you know?
Sure. No, it sounds like this could do it.
Anyway.
Okay. So, great. That sounds awesome. Seems like they did the narrative really well and that it wrapped up nicely for you. Well, nicely enough to make you want way more narrative. Now,
well, and last thing I'll say about that, or Brittany will kill me, is the bad guys were so good, man. Like, they are, like, I think if you don't know the Banished, maybe a person would think they're sometimes a little too stereotypically bad guy or something like that. But they're so, like, charming for bad guys. I don't know how to put it. Like, they're so endearing in a way. They've got, like, this very them character and attitude. The main bad guy, the main war chief Estrom, even at the end, like, him and Chief kind of have a respect for each other. They totally, obviously, like, they're killing each other's species all the time, but like there's like this like warrior respect. Anyway, the Banished were awesome. Loved them. Cool. And I don't know, dude. I just like, I finished the game, and like the best word I would describe is like, I felt so wholesome, you know, like it was such a satisfying and wholesome experience. And it's been a long time since I felt satisfied from a Halo campaign. It's probably 2012 from Halo 4. And I don't know if Halo's ever had a happy ending. Like, Honestly, like there's always an ending of like, yeah, we stopped them, but we just killed a fuck ton of people in the process. We stopped them, but they're for sure going to come back. Like whatever. This one kind of just like, I don't know, felt good. Like,
Right. Even though it's a little ominous, it didn't feel it that much.
Yeah, I mean, it's ominous because you know more than Chief does. You know what I mean? Like,
right. But for Chief, it's pretty happy.
Yeah, and Brohammer, yeah. Oh, dude, there's a cool. Chief is generally like a shallow husk of a character, but there's some cool things that I like even made me think a little bit because he I mean there's a moment where he's talking to the pilot about like everybody fails and that's a human thing. That's maybe like a more deeper emotional kind of a thing. But there's this one moment where okay, the last thing I'll say on the narrative, okay? Last thing I'll say. There is in Halo 4, I'm sorry, when Cortana was going rampant and she was losing her mind, by protocol, he was supposed to like put her down, basically, like kill her. And he didn't because it's Cortana, right? And then Cortana fucking goes crazy and she takes over the whole universe and blah, blah. So Chief's like thinks it's his fault, right? From that. So now he's got this copy of Cortana that is used to trap Cortana, okay? And he's working with her. And he like doesn't trust her because of what happened with Cortana, but he wants to trust her. And there's this whole dilemma. And at this one point, when it looks like she's going to get taken, okay, Chief starts initiating the like kill sequence on her. And she, at the last moment, escapes from her thing and then is like, what the fuck? You were trying to kill me? You know? And he's like, it's a moment where he's like, like the way that it built up to that moment was he knew that this is how he fucked up and he wasn't going to fuck up again, you know? But that in the moment where he needed to make that decision, it wasn't the right one to make. You know what I mean? And I thought that was like a cool, there was depth there to that moment. And I was like, I don't know. I don't think even Halo 4 hit that nuanced of a depth as well as it did in that moment of like. So anyway, I thought that was really cool. That was probably one of my favorite moments. So I'm done. Cool. No more.
So, great. So is this the best Halo campaign ever?
Okay. From a gameplay perspective, like infantry gameplay perspective, it's not even close. Infinite is by far like the most fun Halo campaign ever. From a vehicle sandbox perspective, I would probably say there's like Halo 3, especially some of its sandbox encounters did more with it. Yeah, Brittany's in chat. Brittany 100% thinks this is the best one. I just think like it was really good.
You seem hesitant to say it was the best ever, though.
I don't think it's the best ever.
What's the best ever? 3?
Halo 2.
Halo 2.
Halo 2 is the best ever. Halo 1 is second place. I mean, we're talking like Halo 2 is like 98 in my head.
We're talking about the campaign only, just to be clear.
Yeah, Halo 2 is like campaign 98. Halo CE, mostly because of the novelty at the time and all that stuff, right? I'm judging it by at the time.
Right.
Halo CE is like a 97. Halo 3, well, being like, it closed things out so good and blah, blah, blah. I got to give it like a 94. And then Infinite feels like a 93. You know what I mean?
So it's the fourth best. It cannot top the original trilogy for you. It cannot get above it.
I think like what it did really good, but it didn't bust through some aspects that it would need to from a gameplay perspective, maybe to top those other ones.
I see.
Right?
Interesting.
Like for example, Halo 2, Halo 3, I think, in my opinion, if it's going to beat out one of the games in the trilogy, it has to be stronger in all aspects of leveraging the sandbox and everything like that, right? Halo 3, you had these encounters where there was this big scarab boss where there's this, it's like a big machine, Covenant machine, and you need warthogs to like take out the legs, and you need to like fly into this thing in the gut of it to blow it up. Like, it really like kind of fully used the sandbox, if you will, and really explored. Infinite didn't have set pieces like that from a gameplay perspective. Like I said, it's infantry. I'm just Chief gameplay is fucking the best. Like it's so much fun. But it didn't have necessarily moments like that or whatever.
I see.
So I like really good, but the others are just they're like literally legendary, like the other ones. So
Sure.
like in order to beat it out, I actually agree with. I don't know if you saw Polygon's Halo list, but Polygon described Infinite as like they said, I don't know if a Halo game can ever beat something out of the original Bungie trilogy.
Uh-huh.
But Infinite gets really close.
I
That's
see.
like exactly how I feel. Like,
yeah, it sounds like there would have to be a large innovation that we don't really understand for it to beat out the original trilogy. And overall, this is it sort of sounds like they kind of were relatively safe with this one. They weren't like trying to break any barriers. They were just trying to make a good Halo game that people would think was comparable to the original trilogy, but they weren't trying to exceed it.
And that was like modern. You know, I think that
modernized.
a modernized Halo take that felt Halo to Halo people. I think that was their primary goal, and they nailed that.
Awesome.
So I am super ecstatic. The soundtrack. The last thing I'll say from an overall impression is you remember our first ever podcast, we talked about experiences.
Yep.
And I gave you the example of Peril.
I was going to have a whole audio section, but you decided to talk for 15 minutes about the narrative.
All right, the narrative is so good. That aspect that I told you that day where Halo has these moments where you're Master Chief, it's a really serious context, but because you're Chief, the music's almost like playful and blah, blah, blah. For the first time since Halo 3, that came back, man.
Okay.
There are moments where the fucking like Forerunners are like coming after you. Oh, you're going to love, there's this Forerunner boss that has this like, I don't know, not techno-y kind of theme song, but it's like a more synth kind of version on Halo themes. Oh, it's so cool. Anyway, the Forerunner is like gonna whatever get ripped apart by these other things and whatever the fuck, and the music's just like piano's like da da da, whatever the fucking like a bass is playing while you're like fighting chieftains and shit. Oh, like I can't tell you the goosebumps counter, dude, off the charts for Infinite. So many times I'm like, oh god, this is so good, man, so good.
Awesome.
I love the musical integration. I love how it's all over the place. So I love the music. Yeah.
Well,
super Halo, super Halo-y integrated.
So if people want to find more about us, where can they find us?
If you want to find more information about our studio, and if you want to talk to more KO Koala Halo fans, you can go to our website.
There are 2 Halo channels right now in the Discord.
There are 2 Halo channels right now. A spoiler one and a not spoiler one. And half of our team is gearing up for SWAT tomorrow. We're not even going to attend our meeting. If you want to hang out with us Halo people, go to kokoalaentertainment.com. There you have links to all our social media, including our Discord. And while you're at our website, you can find out how you play our Research Idle game, which is an idle game, super easy to play. And as you level up, you get automatically entered into giveaways. You can play trivia for weekly giveaways. You can win all kinds of stuff. We literally just rolled 2 winners last night.
Shout out to the trivia server for somehow just like never going down recently. I don't understand.
I got scared because we started doing giveaways.
I guess so, because it used to go down like a weekly maybe, but it's been like weeks. I probably shouldn't be saying this. I'm probably jinxing us, but like I was surprised.
Yeah, the trivia is there. We have weekly $10 giveaways. So if you're looking to get the Halo Battle Pass, all you got to do is play like 3 minutes of multiple choice trivia, and then you're in. You get $50 plus your choice of merch for the other Discord giveaways. In addition, get more information on our single-player physics FPS coming to PC and Xbox Agora at our website, kokoalaentertainment.com.
I just started work on a level codenamed Superman Golf, so get hype.
It's cool. It's almost guaranteed not what you think. Anyway, yeah, Brittany is very mad in chat. Infinite is best. Everyone knows it. Nostalgic ass fuckers are blind to innovation.
Well, we'll have to get Brittany on here for her opinion.
I mean, like, technically speaking, from a gameplay design aspect, yeah, like Infinite outclasses the old ones in a lot of ways. But I'm kind of trying to compare it to
Brittany. I agree with you. This is the same situation where people thought that Super Mario Odyssey wasn't the best 3D Mario game. Those people are fucking dumb. I agree with you 100. Brady, I'm in your boat on this one. I agree.
Okay, Infinite's the best one. Okay. All right.
All right. And remember, I forgot that it was on Game Pass, so you don't have to spend $60 on it. So maybe I will end up playing it. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I haven't found anybody who says don't play it. So
Yeah.
check it out. It's on Game Pass. Get that $1 monthly code. Boom, boom. Took me, I would say on Heroic, took me roughly 20-ish plus hours, but I was also doing side quests. I think they say that generally speaking, you can do it in 12 to 16 hours.
All right. Longer than most Halo games, way shorter than any open world game that's ever been made.
Right.
Yep. Cool. All right. Thanks everyone for listening. And next week, a non-Halo podcast.
Oh man.
Get ready.
It's like first time in 4 episodes.
Yep.
Right on. The month of Halo. Very good.
I will say Polygon released their 50 best games of 20 or 100 best games of 2021 today, and the second place game was a game I've literally never heard of. So,
I haven't either.
So
I've never heard that game.
I bought it. It was on sale today, so I'm gonna play that, and we'll see what that's like.
I wonder. Do you think they put it? Did they put it on sale after the Polygon article?
I don't think so. It only had 30 minutes left when I checked the sale, so I don't think so. I think it just happened to be on sale.
That would be quite the pivot.
Right.
I did, hun. Brittany said she's going on a labor strike until I admit it's best. I did. It's best. It's best.
I'm going to go eat some buffalo wings. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Talk to you next week.
Thank you. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.